assumes you totally understand something in math, but you get the wrong answer anyway. It's so frustrating. Usually it turns out you made one tiny little mistake that ruined the whole thing. Doing a problem correctly except for one little mistake is like making an amazing pie from scratch. You put all this work into it, it's just perfect. But then you don't look where you're going and... It doesn't seem fair. It seems like you should get credit for all that stuff because you did the work, right? Well, that's not how the world works. Those tiny little mistakes can ruin your grade. And in math, when you make a tiny little mistake and you get a problem wrong, you might think you don't understand the topic, which is even more frustrating and can waste tons of time. So, what goes wrong? Well, a few things. What does this say? Read it out loud. Did you say Paris in the spring? Or does it say Paris in the spring? Most people miss the second the because we don't expect it to be there. We assume we know it's there without really carefully reading what's in front of us. If you see a page of fractions that aren't reduced, you might assume that you're supposed to leave them in simplest form. But maybe the directions said that you should divide them and leave them in decimal form. Or a word problem might ask you to just set up the equation but not actually solve it. So on math homework and tests, read directions carefully. Okay, the next big cause for mistakes? Skipping steps. Don't skip steps. Write down all your steps and take up space on the page. Look, I was a math major in college, and the entire way through, if I skipped steps, I made mistakes. Skipping steps only feels like it's saving you time. But when you get the wrong answer and you're like, what went wrong? If you'd written every step down, then you'd be able to find your mistake and fix it. I mean, for example, what went wrong here? That's the wrong answer, but how did you even get there? Your guess is as good as mine. Instead, if you write it down, you can be like, wait, 24 divided by 6 isn't 5, it's 4. And then you'd write this. When you're using a formula, write down the formula. Write down what the variable equals, then rewrite the formula with the number. Write it down, it takes like 2 seconds. And take up space on your paper. Don't cram it in. This goes for homework you actually turn in on paper, or just your own scratch sheet when you're doing assignments online. Also, save these pages. You'll be so glad when you're studying for your next test. You'll be like, I used to know how to do these problems. How did I used to do them? And then because your sheets are all big and readable, and you wrote down all your steps, you'll know exactly how you did them. Recap. Read the directions carefully. Write down all of your steps, take up space, and save your scratch sheets. You will seriously start making way fewer mistakes. You can thank me later.